afternoon, guys. Welcome to this select interaction with Sharad, Vivek, Sagar, our guest. He's a globally renowned social entrepreneur, noted thought leader, powerful orator, and a white-shoveled youth icon. Sagar was the first Indian to be elected president of the school environment hatters. Harvard graduates of education. He tells the others how background and how speed those heights that father was aspired as if. So I've one to the festivals I was working I'm with the students. So he has founded Dexterity Global at the age of 16. And now the leaders trained at Dexterity Global, they have received over 140 crores in scholarships from top universities across the world. He has been invited by former US President Barack Obama to the White House, and he has been listed at the Forbes list for at the party. So he has also been on the media's watch show from Marina Harupati. So it's called Much Ado. I wasn't to you, Sharad, Vivek, Sagar. He's an electrified orator. Please make the most of this interaction.
My name is Sharad Vivek Sagar, and it's a delight for me to be here in this group talking to you. You are at Chanakya University, and I think you made the right choice. I loved when I walked in, I saw it was written somewhere about ideas and ideals. You are rooted in the ideals and ascending to ideas. What a fantastic way I could tell a story of young people who are getting started. So, I do not know how you want to structure this interaction, but I can give you a quick background, who I am, what I do, and where I come from. And then we'll open it up for questions. Many of you might be interested in the story from an academic standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and just in general, if you have other questions about life and career and journey, I'm happy to take those questions. I cannot tell you that I'd answer those questions. Here's my quick background. I was born and brought up in small towns and villages in Bihar. For the first 12 years of my life, I never went to school. I was taught at home. And two brothers, one sister, they were taught at home in a very interesting fashion. The third part of our education was textbooks and notebooks would be brought home and we would study at home. Second part of my education was that we had to read newspapers every day. And first part of my education was the houses that we lived in, the rented houses. On the four walls of every house, there were quotations of Sri Krishna and Swami Vivekananda, Masharpa Devi on every wall. And every morning we woke up, we would read these quotations aloud and then we'd get to work. So that in many ways really kind of gave me the thoughts and the ideas that I kind of grew up with, which later became the foundation and fundamentals of what I would go on to do. The third part, I know, I'm sure you don't care about textbooks and notebooks that you do every day. The second part was newspapers. These newspapers used to come one day late. And still, every year, there would be 2-3 stories. Some kid receiving a full scholarship to go to a Harvard or a Stanford. Some kid who won an international competition. Some kid who received, the opportunity to represent the media at the global forums. And I wanted to be that kid, except I was not enrolled in a school. So you cannot participate. So I picked up a very simple habit. And this hopefully will tell many of you what the power of a small habit is. I used to write down, every time in the newspaper there's a story about some young achiever, I would write down the name of the scholarship, competition or conference, which date or month the story came out, so that I know when this happens, who can participate and how. Kept writing it down. Age 11, 12, moved to the capital city of Bihar, but is the city of Patna with my mother, because my brother and sister had to write their 10th board exams. So finally they had to go to school. So I also had to go to school. In school I had a lot of time. I was an outstanding student. I was always standing out of the class. So not on with, but it was because, my sister and my brother, what they were learning, my parents used to say, if Bhaiya can do it, you can also do it. If Didi can do it, you can also do it. So they were teaching my brother and sister algebra and all these things that I also learned it as a small kid. So I had some time in school, so I was always telling my friends stories and different things, so they would send me out of the class sometimes. But other ways also, what I started doing once I got to school was I started participating in all of these competitions that I had written down and kept. By the time I was in grade 12, I had represented India in over 6 different countries. I had worked close to 200 different local, national, and international competitions. But it was at these competitions that I got the founding idea of Dexterity. And the idea was very simple. I would come back from a Tokyo or a Seoul. I used to call it Seoul till I actually landed in South Korean capital. I would tell my friends about, all the fascinating things that you see as a child. I was in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. With childlike wonder, I would tell them, oh, this is how big the fights are, this is how clean the streets are, and everything. I also used to tell them, this is what other young people spoke. This is the question that everybody missed. Because you tend to remember the question that everybody misses, right? Many times my friends knew an answer to a question that nobody could answer at a national or a global platform. And I used to tell them, oh, you should have been there, you should have participated. Except, I was quick enough to realize that my friends were not at these platforms and I was. Because all these years I had noted down these opportunities, I knew that these exist, that is why I would get those opportunities. So this was one thing that was set in my mind. The second thing was that at these global platforms, when a conversation was happening about, access to electricity, access to clean drinking water, all these things, the young people who were representing India did not come from a background like mine. An ordinary school in a tier 2, tier 3 city from a lower middle class family. These were kids who went to some of India's most prestigious and at the same time most expensive schools, who had never seen what a power cut looked like, who did not know what access to clean drinking water technically was. They were bright and hardworking, they would do all that research and they would come. But they didn't have those lived experiences. So this idea used to come to me. Why do we not have a kid who has actually seen impact of, electricity supply and education, access to clean drinking water, these things? Because if they speak, their statements will be so much more genuine and authentic, and their ideas and lived experiences will be powerful and influential and instrumental in many ways. But again, the question was, why are these kids not here? Because, one, they do not know these opportunities exist. Two, they do not have the exposure or the training to perform at a global or national level. As a late, at the age of 16, I didn't think too much. I got started doing two things. First one was, if there's any educational opportunity that is specially designed for children and youth, they should be the first ones to know about it. So what we did was, we put together something called Next Connect. 15 years later, Next Connect on the first Sunday of every month connects close to 7 million kids with educational opportunities in RealNet. That means, if New York Times is doing an essay competition which has a deadline in December, in September, you'll have it on your Next Connect. What is this competition? Who can participate? How? And also, two preparation material is provided so that if a young girl child in a small village of India finds out about the opportunity, she and our teacher cannot coach her, her parents have never been to school, how does she prepare for this competition? Then, with that essay competition, there will be two preparation material. One says how to construct an argument, how to draft an essay, what is a standard template, those things, so that kids, while they get exposure, they can also self-teach and self-learn in the process. This is what Dexterity does on one side. On the other side of it, we decided to build those next generation leaders who were missing at these global platforms. Kids from tier 2, tier 3 cities, small districts, towns and villages, who could also represent India and actually represent the authentic, genuine India where they, can be next generation leaders. So Dexterity did something very simple: identify kids from different parts of the country, train them, group them as next generation leaders. We started out with leadership development in 2011, 2012. As an institution, Dexterity School of Leadership and Entrepreneurship. The 10th class is graduating this year. And few years later, we started a scholar development program. Because many of these kids who would come to the leadership development program, they would solve a Harvard Law School negotiation, they would undergo, analyze case studies and look at all these different campaigns and models and communication, leadership, negotiations, entrepreneurship. They would come back to us when they were 17 or 18 or 21 or 22. They would be like, I really like this undergraduate program, or I really like this graduate program. I want to apply. How do I do it? At Dexterity, we believe in building systems. So we said we built a program that is going to identify young people and groom them as next generation scholars. So we started doing that. A long story short, 15 years into our journey, more than 170 crores in scholarships from top universities across the world. Kids who have received it. If 3 years back you read the story of a young girl, the daughter of a small farmer from Tirupur in Tamil Nadu, who had never taken a train out of her town. She received a full scholarship to go to U Chicago, a full scholarship, 2.5 crores, to pursue her bachelor's in medicine. A young kid last summer, you might have read in the newspaper or seen it on social media. The son of a daily wage earner, a small village called Golpura in Bihar, who went to Pennsylvania to study on a full scholarship, 2.5 crores again. These are the kids who come into the dexterity system. They're not the only kids. It's from all kinds of backgrounds coming. They say it is representative of what India looks like. And these kids go on to do phenomenal things. They are presidents of student governments, they are chairs and leaders of clubs, societies within the university setting. They carry a high enough GPA, they participate in all kinds of things, and they are really doing well. As far as the UN story is concerned, that I left you at, in the last 15 years, 14 regional ambassadors of India to the United Nations, children and youth boards across their different agencies have come from the dexterity system. Again, ordinary everyday kids who live next door. At Dexterity, we believe in building servant leaders. In 1888, India sent one of its finest young sons to a place called University College in London. In 1913, India sent one of its finest young men to a place called Columbia University. The two young people would return back. One would work towards freedom, the other one would work towards self-determination. One was Mahatma Gandhi, the other was B.R. Ambedkar. In 1947, that they got independence, a graduate from the University of Cambridge came back to India and told the first Prime Minister that space should not be the fortress of Soviet Russia and the United States alone, that India too could become a space power. In 1948, a young graduate in Indian technology came to Anand in Gujarat and said that we can work on a billion-liter idea and we can move from a milk-deficient country to the largest producer of milk in the world. Today, actually in 1998, India became the largest producer of milk in the world, overtaking the same United States of America that Verghese Kurian had left and returned from. Worked for 50 years with 9 Indian prime ministers. Today, Anand is the milk capital of the world. Today, Hollywood launches space movies for 4 times the budget of India's space programs, for a quarter of the budget of a space movie in the launch space project in our country. That was the education of a Cambridge PhD, Vikram Sarabhai. At Dexterity, we are saying the simple thing. 75 years before our independence, we had a generation of people like Netaji Subhash Bose, Sardar Patel, all these people who went to some of the best institutions in the world, came back and they bridged their educational journey, their personal journey with India's national journey. We are better off because of that generation. In 1947-48, we had people like Kalam and Sridharan and Sarabhai and Kurian who again bridged their educational and personal journey with India's national journey. They identified where they would have long-term impact. Because of them, we have better public transport, greater internal security, great space program, great defense and missile program. We are green sufficient, we are wind sufficient. Today, at Dexterity, we are saying, 75 years after our independence, India leaves a new generation of servant leaders. People who are not going to crib and compete. People who are actually going to build the next generation platforms and programs and policy and systems so that we can make education both enriching and affordable for every child, so that we can make healthcare accessible and affordable for every person, so that we can transform our science in a way that we can put a man on the board and also get an ambulance out of a traffic jam. The most unfortunate thing that we do in a country is never asking our children or never telling them, why do we send an entire generation to school and why do we send an entire generation to college? The answer is to build forward, to move forward, to advance what we have received, to upgrade what we can, and to leave the planet better off for the next generation. I'll end where I started. That can only happen when you are rooted in your ideals and ascending to new ideas. I hope that is what you're doing at Janag. Thank you. You will let people cut the chalaas and fill out there.
That what is. Maybe you can walk around the woman
How if we would open it up for this, we'll open it up for questions and answers. We have a question, whatever language it needs, leave out. Either I'll understand or I'll translate.
Certainly the Harvard as competitive as people say.
Any place is as competitive as people say or assume. Also, if you could mention your name and city,
My name is Aditya and I believe. I just want everyone to experience an art with a good for the dog about it. And I like they wanted to experience and how competitive was it and how to perform with it for give the women if I skip it to it.
See, if I commented on getting overwhelmed or not, I think it would be a personal comment. So I would refrain from thinking that. But no, I did not get overwhelmed when I was there. I like to enjoy whenever I am. Like to enjoy. I said, if you're in class, you should enjoy being in class. At Harvard, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I was not just the first Indian to be the president of the student government. I was also a team manager of the ice hockey team, a sport I knew nothing about. But, and I'll give you the backstory of how that happened. For my undergrad at Tufts, I was on a full scholarship, and still I would always look for work study opportunities so that I could fund early days of dexterity. Our kids had to write their SAT exams and other things. So I worked as a dishwasher in my freshman year. So I had my full scholarship. On top of that, to bring money to fund dexterity, I worked as a dishwasher. I was an assistant in the chemistry lab. One day there was an email that said Tufts Hockey was looking for a team manager. I thought that was my Chuck the India moment. I applied. I got invited for the interview, and I wrote, the best possible cover letter that you could write asking for a job. And I talked about, sports, startups, and wars, and how I am really enthused by the passion, intensity, and strategy that is involved. And I wanted to come and add to the program. I got called for an interview. I walk into the room of my head coach, and I look around, and it was not hockey. On pictures of ice hockey. So what do I do at that condition? So the first 10 seconds, I said, Coach, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me for this interview. I want to honestly confess something. When I applied, I thought it was hockey. Because in India, think hockey is a big thing. But this is ice hockey. But I also want to humbly submit to you that if somebody sat me down and taught me just the rules of the game for 3 hours, for the next 3 years, I can manage this. Because the rest of the skills I do bring to the table, and we had a good chat. Next week, I received the email. I was hired as a team manager. And we had a good 40 years of that program history. Tufts hockey is not as old as Harvard hockey. We went to the playoffs a couple of times. We knocked out the number 1 seed every year. Anybody who follows sports would know why we knocked out the number 1 seed. Because when you make it as a number 8 team in the league, you have to take the number 1 team in the league. So we did a couple of those things. When I went to Harvard, one of the kids who played on my team at Tufts, his uncle was the head coach. So that is what happens when you go to, it's like you're here at Chanakya right now, meet to your left, look to your right. Your lifelong friendships and networks are being built here. And Vivek was talking about this morning, how speakers who come in, guests who come in, these are all lifelong relationships. Do not see themselves as separate from your men, especially at things like this, where it is more authentic and genuine. So that was the Harvard hockey thing. But when I was managing Harvard hockey, I was in extreme comfort. And as I speak today, the 43rd kid to play for Harvard hockey, playing in the NHL today, here's the kid who I gave the Rookie of the Year award last year. He's playing in the National Hockey League, made his debut with the Calgary Flames today. But it's phenomenal. So the thing is, put yourself in different situations and enjoy yourself there, as opposed to complain. There's a lot of time to complain. There's a lot of room to complain. Instead of complaining, you can begin enjoying what it is. The two parts about it. Anything that you see at a systems level, policy level, you can complain about it, or you can be part of the problem-solving generation. At Dexterity, we say problem-solving generation. Second, if you've ever heard William McRaven, the admiral, speak about how Navy SEALs are trained, the unit that took out Bin Laden, then they say, while they train you, they put you in conditions that you're supposed to hate. Part of your training is to begin to like what you're not really enjoying. And that is part of a thing that helps you, thrive in all kinds of conditions. And leadership is an important, this is an important part of leadership. And also human life, being able to, play early. So not overrun too much. And is Harvard competitive? Of course, it is one of the best schools in the world, and everybody wants to go there. So it is competitive. But it is as competitive as any other. Because everybody who's applying there is also applying to a bunch of other papers. Other questions?
Then I'm another shit. How these people be released to the things?
That's a very good question. I will give you an example from startup world, one sentence example, and then I'll take it back to human life. Many people start companies today thinking that startups are about becoming rich, powerful, and influential. That you incorporate a company today, 6 months later, you'll be rolling a Ferrari out. That's not true. 95% startups die, and for a good reason. So who are the people who are able to keep going? People who are able to answer that question on a bad day. The question is, why did you get started in the first place? If that clarity is there, if you carry, a visual, a conversation, an interaction, an experience in your mind, and that is the reason why you got started. In good times and bad times, always remind yourself of that question. Why did you get started in the first place? If you know that, there's nothing that is going to stop you. Likewise in life, always try and ask yourself that question. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you get started in the first place? And one of the things at Dexterity we talk about how is being grateful for what we have and being appreciative of it. That is a huge, huge positive power that will take you forward. Many times when we look around and complain, and at the Dexterity system, we work with a lot of kids who have any reason to complain. Many of them, like the kid who's the son of a daily wage earner, her father owes 200 rupees. When he does not earn that even every day, because if he's not hired on a particular day, he does not get the daily wage. That kid has every reason to complain. That, oh sir, I'm going to show up late, I'm not going to be able to do my work. But at Dexterity, we talk about the battle of high standards. We say discipline, merit, and sacrifice. No matter who you are, what you think you're going to do in life, if you're not disciplined in your case, if you do not try to be meritorious in one small thing that you do, it does not have to be an entire field. Really meticulous and meritorious about one thing. And then if you're willing to sacrifice a little more than the guy who sits next to you, you'll get a lot more done. Most people are unwilling to do these three things. And then complain that, everything is biased, everything is crooked, people are unjust, everything is unfair. Everyone wants to talk, there's politics around me. Everything will be there. But if you are the number 99 guy, they can do something with the number 98 guy as you will be out. If you are the top 10 guy, it's not that easy. So, long story short, on your tough days, at Dexterity Effect, we say on your best day and on your worst day, you shouldn't be the same person. So one time I asked the Dexterity kid, why do we say this? What does this mean to you? And the kid said, 17, 18-year-old kid, I love the answer. I'm quoting him on this. He said, so that our excited self or our upset self is not making decisions on our behalf. And I think that is a powerful thing to keep in mind. We get too excited with good things and we get too upset with bad things. So at Dexterity it is, we say, semi-monastic, semi-military train. 4 minutes early for a Dexterity meeting is 1 minute late. So no matter who you are, what bishop you come from, if you're not there for a meeting 5 minutes early, you've cut from that meeting. If you've cut from a few meetings, you've cut from the program. Nobody cares what your name is, what your face is. You have every option to intimate, but if you don't do it, out. There's a lot of conversation till you are in the zone. But once you are in the zone, then you're not the systems. So that is an important thing. So you have to stay inspired, and the best way of staying inspired is appreciate it and be grateful for what you have. And then be able to ask yourself or tell yourself, why did I get started in the first place? Majority of you, I know that it is said in a negative way, but majority of you carry your parents' dreams here. Majority of you might also be your siblings' icons. Might also be neighbors' enemy, but I do not care about that part. So the thing is, know that in your invisible backpack, we all carry an invisible bag. What would you carry in that invisible bag? And try carrying the positive things that are being forged. Any questions, life, liberty? And again, anything with it.
Free on. So what did I did?
Samiji and everybody, so this I'm saying without a doubt, anybody who has done anything of value in the society, and anybody who has achieved anything of value in society, I have deep admiration. I am not the kid who will say, I'd never be a bad person. who will say that, oh, that person's a little bit like that. I'm like, oh, that one thing that person does is worth it, right? So it's that way fun. I really liked it and I enjoyed it. So you can give me the worst character in history. I'll pick the basic trait that the person might have had that we can put to better things. So that's been the mindset.
So I have a question. It's not about something in the book. It's something which I held out in heat.
Yes, why you see that? Nothing.
So, like when someone hyped up, you're speaking in front of us. So, not just in this situation, but you're supposed to hold somewhere to speak. There's an opportunity, and I was thinking, इतने लोग रहेंगे, यार क्या बात करेंगे, कैसे बात करेंगे, तो कैसे बात करता हो, उस चीज़ की प्रैक्टिस करते, क्या फिर किस चीज़ के बारे में बात करते हो, उस चीज़ के बारे में प्रैक्टिस करते.
So I will give you the answer that you deserve to hear. For at least 2,000 to 2,500 times in my life, I have felt not my head shiver, but go up and down and touch. ठीक है, किसी का इधर ऐसे होता है ना. I have felt it go up and down, and I have not felt my heart run faster. I have felt my heart thump against the ribcage if I thought that is biologically true. But part of the game is you have to get used to it. There are 2-3 skills that you need to outperform as a candidate, to outperform as a player. One, there was a very good Kung Fu player who was also a chess champion who was asked that how do you perform at this level? And that person said, when you are in the fight, you stay relaxed. And you stay relaxed till the player is moving and everything. The moment when you have to attack, you get intense, you attack and you come on. Okay, you are in a relaxed state. And he said, it's the same in chess. You maintain a relaxed mindset. When you have moved something, then you go into intensity, you're back again as relaxed. Imagine a string. Okay? If it is strung at all times, it's going to break eventually. But if you have the ability to let the string loose, let it relax, and then when it's tight, it gets strung again, then it is in a relaxed state. Its ability to deliver results when strung will be higher, as opposed to it being struck at all times. So that's something that you need to get used to. So one is, you should be able to perform very well in a relaxed state. I'm taking a detour from that answer that they call larger point. You have to be very good at being relaxed, and in your most relaxed state, how do you at least perform up to a certain level? So concentration should be high, focus should be high, ability should be high. So that without putting in an effortlessly, what can you do well? So effortlessly, you know your parents' name. Effortlessly, you know where you live. Effortlessly, you know your phone number. Effortlessly, you know where your room is. All these things you know in the most relaxed state. Okay? That you have to increase that capacity. That is why you see people who effortlessly remember an entire phone book. Who effortlessly remember so many details from so many parts of the world. Who effortlessly can look at something and say, this spelling is wrong, that grammar is incorrect, that punctuation mark is missing. That is how they have prepared their relaxed self-being. Then the second thing you should be able to do is going from relaxed to intense immediate. How quickly can you go from your most relaxed state to the most focused, intense, most concentrated stillness, and then deliver a result and come out? And then there is a third part. How do you play it in the most intense situations for slightly open periods of time? I've given this as food of thought for you to think about it. But it's an important thing. Most young people who you see around yourself, they practice the third part too much, not understanding that the actual need is that you should be in your relaxed state throughout. It is not straight formula that kaisa karo, it is a relaxed state can. To tie that with the answer I was giving. You have to embrace the tough time. It is terrible. You have to embrace the terrible in order to be terrific. Terrific in English is good, right? So you have to embrace the terrible in order to be terrific. You have to get used to it. It's like, that same thing again. Heart is going to thump fast, I'm going to be shaking, but head, yes, I'm going to embrace it. And you do it again and again and again and again. There comes a point in time when you begin to like it. It's part of the day job. So I'm fortunate. As a young kid, I got a lot more opportunities to put myself in that situation. I was never, shy of it. And I was always grateful that there is one more opportunity to feel terrible. Right? It's good, but this is the way you have to put it. You have to cross it. So you jump in and then you do your job. If it was a communication class, I would did 5 more things. But one of the other things is, people like authentic speakers. What you should do is you should go there out front and say, as you can see, I am nervous. And then start thinking. Everything that you'll speak, since your mind has acknowledged it, you have put it on record. People are also more appreciative of everything that you're saying after that because, like you're not nervous. 2, the impulse that you send out is not about what if everyone is judging you or what will happen in the next moment. So it is about embracing that feeling that you feel terrible. The second part is preparing on the content of this. I stopped writing speeches in theory and online because I felt when I spoke without a script, I was more authentic, more genuine. I was able to improvise. I was able to change. So I started a simple habit. Even in debates, in the high school debate, I would go stand up and then start speaking. For that, the pressure was I'd read all the wrong because at the back of my mind, I would have to quote a native boy. So instead of doing the research the night before, read real law, talk minute long. So it used to be fun. So even today, I do not write as teachers. I just stand and speak. But you should prepare. Preparing part you get to, but always be ready. Something new will happen by a day. You should incorporate that. The audience will turn out to be uneffective. Imagine if you were invited to speak at a hospital. You go with the best speech you can write about medicine. But turns out that hospital is owned by the trustee of a school and it is actually school kids you were supposed to address. हो गया अब आके वहाँ पर पढ़ाओ कि माध्यम की संस्कृति में अपने चिकित्सा में ऐसा किया वैसा किया संडे ने ऐसा छोटे बच्चे को समझ ही नहीं आता इससे कि बेटी थी पे क्यों बोल रही तो that is why you need to blow your audience and it's sometimes about authentic crafts. But it's part of the process. You have to embrace it. People like Kobe Bryant and others who are so good, they got clutch players. Last second remaining and they're able to throw that basket in. You do that when you do it on practice to learn as a quizzer and sit in the buzzer round. Does not matter whether you lose at the end of it. It's the thrill of it. Press that buzzer and you get the answer wrong. It's terrible, is that wrong? But 10 years later, you are at a position where you're like, man, I've played for the microseconds. So that's why, that's part of the reason why I enjoyed Harvard Hockey so much. It's like every second, every microsecond, it's a roller coaster of emotions. We have to teach more kids to embrace more range of emotion. As opposed to tell them that it's all right in you. See, it's terrible doing this, don't. Oh, it's like, master it. That's part of it. That's something that you have to be good at. Other questions?
After that will be schooling down. कोई वैसा आपको मुझे दिया आपको क्वेश्चन जो क्वेश्चन आपको नहीं आता वो मुझे देता हूँ कैसे उसको हैंडल एंड एवरीथिंग
मैंने तो पहले ही बोल दिया कि आप क्वेश्चन पूछना मैं जवाब दूंगा है नहीं दूंगा उन्हें बोले ऐसे हैंडल देखिए ऐसे तो मुझसे नहीं पूछते मैं एक बार गया था एक स्कूल में वो स्कूल बहुत छोटे बच्चों का स्कूल था जो कि सबसे सोशली मार्जिनलाइज्ड कम्युनिटी से आते हैं तो मुझे स्पेशली उठाया गया वहाँ पर मैं गया 4th क्लास के क्लासरूम में इन बच्चों के परिवार में आज तक कभी कोई स्कूल वगैरह तो छोड़ नहीं मतलब 3 टाइप्स मीन्स में तो एक रेजिडेंशियल टाइप स्कूल था एक अधिकारी के उन्होंने शुरू किया था ब्यूरोक्रेट हैव स्टार्टेड आई बी क्लास फर्स्ट स्टूडेंट्स तो आई टोल्ड सेड वी डू नॉट से हिंदी में बोला कि ये नहीं सोचना है कि हमारे पैर के नीचे चप्पल है कि नहीं सर के ऊपर छत है कि नहीं हमें जो मौका मिला इस पर काम करना है खूब मच लिया बच्चों को बच्चे भी खुश हाथ में से लोग ऐसा बनेंगे ऐसा किसी बोला है क्वेश्चन टीचर ये बच्चा खड़ा हुआ बोला वाई डू बर्ड्स फ्लाई इन फॉर्मेशन वो माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स पढ़ रहा हो तो माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स फॉर्मेशन तो चेक भी है अरे तो जवाब तो मैं दे सकता हूँ तो फिर अगला वाला पूछेगा व्हाट इज टिंडल इफेक्ट अगला वाला पूछेगा What happened when a polar solution test is? मैंने उसे बोला बहुत अच्छा प्रश्न है, ये सरल है। मुझे पुस्तक की बात जो मन में आता है मुझे, तब फिर उसके बाद उसने पूछा तो मेरे प्रश्न जो होते हैं वो पुस्तक वाले तो होते नहीं, वो तो केबीसी पे होते हैं पुस्तक वाले। तो ऐसा है। दूसरा, मैं प्रेम से कह देता हूँ ये बुरे नहीं, या ये मैंने अभी नहीं सोचा है, या ये मेरे विचार में नहीं आया है। देखिए, अगर आप पूरे देश कंपेटिटिव रहता है, कंपटीशन नहीं करता, एक कंपेटिटिव व्यक्ति क्या है, बहुत डिटेल में प्रिपेयर करता है, हर इंच का ख्याल रखता है, मेहनत से खेलता है, पर कंपटीशन करने नहीं रहता, कंपटीशन आता खुद से। तो जब हर चीज़ में अवार्ड नहीं मिल रहा है तो मैंने ज़्यादा जवाब दे दिए, मैंने आज सबका माइंड लो कर दिया, मुझे चारों ने पूछा, वो बोल नहीं रहता, वो नहीं रहता है मैं आज भी सुन सकता हूँ कि नहीं, बोल सकता हूँ कि नहीं, सोच सकता हूँ कि नहीं, ठीक से चल सकता हूँ, लेकिन ये सब थोड़ा तहीना चाहिए। उम्र बढ़ नहीं देता, जैसे आज बताते जी को बहुत बात सीधा नहीं चल रहे थे आज। पर बात ये है कि हम किसी प्रतियोगिता में नहीं है, किसी प्रतिस्पर्धा में नहीं, हम स्वयं का जीवन सबसे प्रेम से मानव उत्कर्ष पर जीने के प्रयास में। What is that मानव उत्कर्ष? That is the height of excellence at which we can experience life. आप छोटे होते ग्राउंड फ्लोर पे आते इस यूनिवर्सिटी टीचर से लेकर कॉलेज, पर छोटा बच्चा होता तो एक बार दो इधर वैसे नहीं देखा। The land looks different from the mountain top. As humans, we have all been promised the opportunity to climb up the mountain. तो थोड़ा मानव उत्कर्ष पे जाना चाहिए, मेडिटेशन के हाइट पे जाना चाहिए, आर्ट के हाइट पे जाना चाहिए, म्यूजिक के हाइट पे जाना चाहिए, स्पोर्ट्स के हाइट पे जाना चाहिए, एंड एक्सपीरियंस करना चाहिए वहाँ जो दुनिया के सिंह उस हाइट में जब बनी है तो यू विल बी द मोस्ट कंपेटिटिव सेल्फ, बट देन इट विल नॉट बी अ कॉम्पिटिशन विद द नेबर। जिसको ज़्यादा लोग जानते हैं उसको ज़्यादा लोग देखते हैं। आप मानव उत्कर्ष के प्रयास में, अब मैं थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा रहा तो साधु सर ऐसे निकल जाएगा, ऐसे तो वो नहीं निकलता है, बट यू हैव टू बी वेरी गुड एट इट। इसी के वैसा ही